Hello folks, here's my late guide on Zhongli. He's got quite the divided reception when his banner came out, but I think he's still a good character. His tankiness and mitigation will show a lot more value the longer you play the game once you have the needed damage to clear content. His overpowered shield just lets you ignore mechanics. There are two main ways to play Zhongli, as a physical carry or a burst support. I feel his support style is much better for free to play and allows players to worry less about timing iframes to avoid damage. I'll be covering his abilities one by one and how to efficiently use them depending on his role. I will also show free to play and gacha gear recommendations alongside his team comps. Use the timestamps below for the sections that you're interested in. His normal attacks are quick just like the other polearm user. Due to that, the highest DPS would be a physical build similar to a Crescent Pike Xiangling. His 5th attack animation with the kick hits 4 times and procs the Crescent Pike passive each time. The best combo is 5 normal attacks into an animation cancel. You can see a comparison here. Note that the 5th attack can be cancelled fairly early and still continue to spin as you start the next combo. The damage from his last hit isn't high enough to make up for how long the animation takes. You can see cancelling the kick does more DPS, and Ruined Guards would have high physical resistance, so other enemies will take more damage. His charge attack also only hits enemies once, no matter how big they are. You can use it as a mobility tool to get closer and chase down enemies. It does decent damage, but doesn't have any iframes. Don't bother using his normal or charge attacks if you are using him as a burst support. His elemental skill, Dominus Lapitus, has 2 functions. Tapping it will place a pillar down that does minor geo damage. It will also make other geo constructs around it do minor geo damage. The problem with the tap version of the skill is the low damage and low energy generation rate. The size of the AoE is also pretty small, and it requires specific characters on your team to take advantage of the geo construct resonance. The energy particles does not spawn consistently either. It's kinda random and averages about 1 particle every 2 pulses. If you have Constellation 1, the extra pillar does its own damage, but does not increase the overall generation rate. In my opinion, the best part of this pillar is the ability to climb it. This can be treated similar to Venti's E for traversal or for altering enemy encounters. An example is making the Rune Hunter AI always use the bombardment attack. You can also have some fun shenanigans with the wolf boss. The pillar can also cause camera issues during combat. You can also make a poor man's Venti by combining Zhongli and Anemo MC's ult. I will have order. The other function of the skill is by holding it and creating a shield. The damage is okay, and it helps destroy enemy geo shields. The shield generated is the best shield in the game. It absorbs a lot of damage and lasts 20 seconds. The cooldown is only 12 seconds, so you can keep 100% shield uptime with Zhongli alone. This is perfect for any carry that uses the retracing bolide set. The downside for this ability is the channeling time required to activate the shield, and how this shield does not cleanse debuffs. With the carry playstyle, you can use the tap version to animation cancel his 5th attack. As a support, it is better to use his hold version and then his burst. If you plan to have more screen time with Zhongli and look at his pretty hair, then pop down a pillar here or there. His elemental burst, Planet Befall, is probably what Zhongli is best known for. It maintains order, does a huge chunk of damage, and petrifies enemies for about 3.5 seconds. It also has a short 12-second cooldown and 40 energy requirement, just like Ningguang's burst, who, by the way, pairs very well with Zhongli. The damage of his ult scales with his health after getting his 2nd ascension passive. Also, make sure to cancel the recovery animation after the comet lands. Holding walk does not cancel his pose, but attacking, dashing, or swapping does. His burst should be used with both playstyles whenever you can hit multiple enemies or stop big incoming attacks. There's also a lot of iframes during this long animation. When leveling his talents, priority for the physical carry style is his normal attack, burst, then skill. Priority for a support Zhongli build is burst, then skill. Save some aura and material by not leveling up his normal and charge attacks. I already went over his skills and burst earlier, so let's go straight to the passives. His first passive makes his shield even stronger. Some people may have noticed Zhongli's shields are absorbing a lot more damage than they should, and this passive bonus may be a large part of it. His second passive increases the burst damage by having more health. This makes HP a nice stat for him since it scales with both his abilities. Constellations for a 5-star unit is not really free to play, but it's still part of the character, so let's cover it. Constellation 1 lets him place a second pillar. It still doesn't increase the total maximum of 3 geo constructs at a time, and the energy particle generation does not increase with the extra pillar either, but I guess it gives you a little extra damage. His Constellation 2 gives him a shield after using his ult, which is very similar to Xinyan's Constellation 2. With C2, you can just call in a support Zhongli and Oni ult and then swap back to your main DPS. You get the nice damage from his burst, not need to channel his skill, and still get a shield to mitigate damage and activate the Bolide bonus. Not much to say about his Constellation 4, bigger AoE and more crowd control. Like almost all final constellations, his C6 pretty much makes your team unkillable. The Jade Shield acts as a heal and already lasts longer than the cooldown of the skill. If things go bad, using his ult can be another method to create a fresh shield. Unless your character gets one shot, this constellation almost makes you invincible. Now on to weapons. Let's start with the best free-to-play choices for both playstyles. His best weapon for a physical carry is the Crescent Pike. The passive on this weapon really beefs up his quick attacks. This polearm provides a similar DPS to a 5-star weapon. That's how strong the passive is. The best 3-star weapon is the White Tassel, but you should really just give him the Crescent Pike. For the support style, Prototype Grudge will be the best choice. Since Elemental Mastery doesn't increase his damage, you will want critical or attack, so White Tassel or Halberd is your best 3-star options. I know his abilities scale off HP, but Black Tassel still does less damage than the other polearms. Also, if you decide on the Halberd, make sure to squeeze in one normal attack after switching Zhongli in for the bonus damage. If you include all weapons for his carry build, then the Vortex Vanquisher, Primordial Jade Spear, and Crescent Pike are all good choices. The 5-star weapons will provide higher damage on his burst, while the Crescent Pike will do more damage with his normal attacks. No other 4-star weapons rival the Crescent Pike for the normal attack build either. If you are using Vortex Vanquisher, then alternate his tap and hold elemental skill to maintain 100% shield uptime. As a burst support, the Skyward Spine comes back into play with its beautiful energy recharge. The Primordial Jade Spear is another powerful choice. Deathmatch, Prototype Grudge, and Favonius Lance are also decent. The crit rate bonus from the Battle Pass weapon is nice, but since you can only get one of those weapons every 6 weeks, it's better to choose another weapon. The polearm is the weakest choice if you compare it to all the other Battle Pass weapons. Let's move on to his artifacts. As a carry, 4-piece Gladiator is really strong, as well as 4-piece Retracing Bolide. If you can't get a full set with good rolls, then substitute for a 2-piece Gladiator with 2-piece Bloodstained. The other attack artifact sets can be used, but they don't reach 5 stars, so it loses value compared to Gladiator's late game. Same goes for the Berserker set. For stat priority, go physical damage on the Chalice, and crit rate or crit damage on the headpiece. Try to keep a 1-to-2 ratio until your crit rate goes over 70%. At that point, focus on crit damage. For the timepiece, go with attack percent since that's the only offensive stat that's useful for this Zhongli playstyle. His support artifacts are completely different. 2-piece Petra with 2-piece Noblesse will greatly increase his burst damage. This is also his most versatile set since it does not restrict your team comp. You can also go 4-piece Noblesse if you have enough energy recharge to keep using his burst. The other option is 4-piece Petra to buff up non-geo elemental damage for your team, but make sure Zhongli is the one who picks up the crystallized shield. This set works best if your carry and DPS support is the same element. Now onward to stat priority. The most important stat is geo damage on the chalice, and crit rate or crit damage on the headpiece, keeping the same critical ratio as mentioned before. Once you have enough energy recharge, fill the rest with attack percent or HP percent. On to team comps. With a physical carry Zhongli, you want your team to have swap supports. Swap supports are characters that get swapped in to pop their 1 or 2 abilities, then get swapped back out. This minimizes the time on the field for characters that's not your main carry, therefore increasing the time Zhongli can keep hitting things. I like to call them burst supports if their burst is a lot stronger than their skill. Here are some of the stronger swap supports in the game so far. You can split these even further into a DPS, crowd control, or healer support. DPS and crowd control are interchangeable since they both provide more damage output for your entire team. The last spot should be a healer, but since Zhongli is naturally tanky and can create a very strong shield, you can opt in for another DPS support if you feel up for it. Be flexible and use the supports that fit your style. If you are using the 4-piece Bolide, then get a second shielder to be safe. As a burst support, you will need a carry to stay on the field. Any of these units are strong carries. Pick the one you enjoy playing. Zhongli's shield will make the game much easier since you get to ignore a lot more mechanics. The remaining supports will depend on Zhongli's artifact set. If you are using a 4-piece Petra set, then I recommend having a support that matches the element of your main carry. This makes generating the correct elemental shields easier and increases a larger percent of your damage output. The selection of supports are the same as the one shown in the carry build, just tailor it to match your team and artifacts. Zhongli's main role as a support is to use his strong burst for damage and crowd control, or his held skill to generate a strong shield for your team. If Zhongli is not using the 4-piece Petra, then there are no restrictions on his team comp. Personally, I will always go with Bennett since he provides both a heal and damage boost. Take advantage of Elemental Resonance with 2 units of the same type. The Resonance bonus helps, and you get to generate more matching energy particles to use more elemental bursts. Just follow these tips and pointers for Zhongli and he will provide a noticeable boon for your team. As your gear and characters get stronger, you will definitely feel his influence on your team. His kit will only get stronger over time, enabling a very comfy playstyle with all his mitigation. Like, comment, and subscribe if you feel my videos are helpful, and as always, have fun out there, traveler.